Dr. Melanie Stevenson.
And I am Dr. Llaila, Africa.
What we're going to talk about today is what comprises holistic sex and relationships. So, Dr. Africa, first we need to talk about exactly how do we get a holistic sex and relationship?
It is basically defined by your culture. Your culture gives you morality, your culture gives you rituals and ceremonies for dating and mating. Your culture gives you your concept of sex and your concept of relationship and the various types and styles of relationship. All of that comes from your culture. Relationship is basically a language of culture. And each culture has different types of relationships and different types of rituals and ceremonies for dating, mating, and sex. So we're going to get into that and give you the components of building a relationship, which is based on the person's listening style, thinking style, learning type, and learning style. So we're going to go over that so you can be clear on the bricks that you need to build this wall called a healthy, holistic sex and relationship.
As a busy gallery owner, mother, and grandmother, I'm able to incorporate my new healing skills on family and friends. Classes have even helped me to enhance relationships between myself and our art-loving customers. You will learn, as I have, that holistic medicine is not only a science, but also an art. When I took the class, I did not have the convenience to take it online, but now you do. Are you ready for your life to be changed and to help others change their lives? Go to drLailaAfricaonline.com and become a healer today.
Now we would like to talk about how a relationship forms, male and female.
It's usually formed by your parents giving you advice, or you picking your mate, or your friends giving you advice. And all of these people help you to get a concept of the type of person you need to be with and the prejudices you need or do not need in that relationship. So it's formed by your peers as well as your family and your friends, and all of them are getting this way of formulating a relationship from their culture.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the components. Each individual, you must know who you are. And Dr. Africa?
The person has a character logic, a way in which they approach themselves, approach reality, approach God. We're going to look at that personality type, and each personality type has a listening style. And there are three major listening styles.
The first listening style is auditory.
So you have an auditory, you have a visual, you have a touch and feeling type of style. But the main thing that we're focusing on is, do you listen for enhancement? Do you listen to improve your life? Do you listen for information, or do you listen to be critical and analytical? Each person will fall in one of those categories. One will dominate more than another. You may mix them all together, but one will dominate. Either you listen for enhancement, to enhance your life, to improve your relationship, to improve what you're doing, or you listen for information, or you listen just to be critical and analytical. So you have to know what is your listening style and what is your intended mate's listening style in order for you to be able to listen to each other and clearly hear what each other is saying.
So again, for instance, you have information, and information is basically someone just listening to hear what you have to say, but they're really not listening to what you're saying. It's just information to them.
It's just information, sort of like Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy. They're just collecting data. And when you focus data, we call it information, but they're just collecting data to use this bits of information, bits of data to improve themselves or improve others. We call that enhancement listening style.
Yeah, so actually everything that you say, I'm trying to figure out how it can enhance my own life. And that's enhancement.
And that is your listening style.
Okay.
So we have to be aware of that so we can basically program ourselves to know how to listen to that person and know how that person listens to you.
And sometimes we can listen to be critical. I just want to see exactly what you're saying and if it's correct.
Critical and analytical, just trying to take what you're saying apart and not really absorb it and just listen, just take it apart. Be analytical or critical.
Melanie from spiritualwarriorsguide.com, and I'm here to tell you about the African Holistic Health Group's African Holistic Health Certification course that's now online, and you can take it. You can sign up, go to www.drafrica.com. I am a graduate of this course, and I did not have access to it online, but now you can take the course online and just get well-being and peace for yourself, for your family, for your community. Become certified as a holistic health practitioner. It's up to you. You can do it with the world's foremost authority in holistic health, African holistic health, and that is Dr. Llaila O. Africa. Just go to www.drafrica.com and become a healer.
So as a review, the thinking styles and listening styles, I'm going to review the listening style, which is listening for enhancement, listening for information, listening for being critical and analytical. This does not supersede knowing the components of a relationship. So we're going to talk about the components of the relationship.
We need to talk about our strengths and our weaknesses and our prejudices so we know exactly what you want before you make your choice.
You have to know what is your strengths, what is your weaknesses, what is your prejudice, because this helps you make a judgment on the type of person you want to be with. You may like a short person, you may like a tall person, you may like a person who has a high-pitched voice, a person with short hair, long hair. There's nothing wrong with being prejudiced. It's just a matter of knowing what your prejudices are and what the other person's prejudices are, so you can build these components in a relationship in a holistically healthy way and stop arguing with each other, being different.
Or if they have a job, or if they don't have a job, you can add that one in also. What we're going to talk about also is you must make an agreement. You must have an agreement coming in. The rules for conversation, an agreed upon method in how you're going to solve your issues.
That means that you have to know the person's thinking style. How do they think about these issues? How do they think about solving these issues? So we have to know your thinking style and your mate's thinking style. They have major thinking styles. You may use all of them, but we have major thinking styles that we use. And some of those are you going to tell them?
The thinking styles are idealistic. You have harmonizers, a realistic thinker, and you also have a critical thinker.
The harmonizer usually tries to get everyone's opinion and not make a wave and blend all of these opinions together. And that's what they're looking for, to keep harmony. A little bit of your opinion, a little bit of my opinion, we mix them together so we can have peace. That's the harmonizer.
That's correct. The idealistic person always says, don't you think we should go to the movies tonight?
They want the ideal situation. They think that if they do good, good will come back to them. They base things on integrity. They're idealistic. So that is how they think. And that's very important for you to know that if you want to be able to communicate your prejudices and your dislikes and all that sort of thing. At least you know the program to use to help the person to think about the subject.
A critical person says, oh, that was obvious. It's obvious. I knew that already.
Very critical. They like to take things apart. They're not being argumentative. This is just their way of thinking. They can think only by taking things apart. The harmonizer thinks by putting things together. But these are not bad thinking styles, and you just have to know them and know how to deal with a person who has a different thinking style of your own.
We've all heard of the realistic person because they say, it is what it is.
Yes, the realistic person uses truth and false only if it's good for that situation. So they seem like they're sporadic or erratic, but they only use what is good to get them from point A to point B, what is realistically needed. So they give the same value for a fact and a feeling. Both of them are equal with them. A fact and a feeling have the same value. They just want to realistically get to point A to point B. The lungs are related to sadness, denial, bonding difficulties. You're taking away their rewards. The Food is used as a reward system. Alcohol is used as a reward system. Cocaine, marijuana, whatever the chemical is. And I'm talking about the chemical made from burning marijuana. Marijuana is simply another herb, but once you burn it with a match, when you take away the person's addiction, be it hot dogs, meat, alcohol, sugar, candy, chocolate, they're going to go through withdrawal. And that's holistic, emotionally and spiritual and behavioral and chemically addicted to this substance.
Now we're going to talk about the learning types. And you have 3 of those. You have an auditory person, which does what?
Auditory person tends to say, that didn't sound right to me, something sounds funny.
And you have a visual person.
They tend to use words like, I don't see what you're saying, that's not clear to me.
And you have a rhythm and touch person.
Rhythm and touch person is going to say, I don't feel that doesn't grab me, that doesn't move me.
You feel me?
That didn't grab me.
Okay, I can't see what you're talking about. Now we're going to go to the learning styles. And the learning styles we're going to talk about is sequential, random, concrete, and abstract. First, a sequential person. What do we know about this?
Sequential person goes step by step by step, and they never break their sequence. They don't like to break their sequence. You could tell them, can you stop what you're doing and let's do this? They say, no, wait till I finish this, and then I'll do that next. They follow sequence. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just their style.
And a random person pretty much will start doing something, and then they'll start doing something else, and
Yes, they seem to be what they call multitasking.
right.
They're random.
Right. And we have a concrete person. And a concrete person basically needs to physically see exactly what you're doing to understand, correct?
The concrete person and the abstract person is very easy to understand because that's how they give you directions on how to put together a desk or a table. One will be the picture, that's for the concrete person. And the other will be the verbal directions written out, that's the abstract person.
Let me give you an example, Dr. Africa. I want you to tell me how to get somewhere.
I think I will tell you the landmarks. I will tell you what you can concretely see. Look for this building there. Look for that tall building there. I will tell you what you can concretely see.
No, I think I need some directions.
That would be an abstract person. They don't need to know any landmarks. All they need is you go to 2 blocks, turn left at the corner there, go north. That's the kind of thing the abstract person needs.
I think that sounds like me. Next, we're going to talk about the emotional development.
Emotions really start before you're born, and we have to understand that we're a complete package at birth, and all we're doing is accentuating what we learned before we were born. We're going to go over this emotional vocabulary that we need to have in order to facilitate a relationship. Thinking styles and listening styles. I'm going to review the listening styles, which is listening for enhancement, listening for information, listening for being critical and analytical. This does not supersede knowing the components of a relationship. So we're going to talk about the components of a relationship.
Okay. We need to talk about our strengths and our weaknesses and our prejudices so we know exactly what you want before you make your choice.
You have to know what is your strengths, what is your weaknesses, what is your prejudice, because this helps you make a judgment on the type of person you want to be with. You may like a short person, you may like a tall person, you may like a person who has a high-pitched voice, a person with short hair, long hair. There's nothing wrong with being prejudiced. It's just a matter of knowing what your prejudices are and what the other person's prejudices are, so you can build these components in a relationship in a holistically healthy way and stop arguing with each other and being different.
Or if they have a job, or if they don't have a job, you can add that one in also. What we're going to talk about also is you must make an agreement. You must have an agreement coming in. the rules for conversation, an agreed upon method in how you're going to solve your issues.
That means that you have to know the person's thinking style. How do they think about these issues? How do they think about solving these issues? So we have to know your thinking style and your mate's thinking style. And they have major thinking styles. You may use all of them, but we have major thinking styles that we use. And some of those are you going to tell them?
The thinking styles are idealistic, you have harmonizers, a realistic thinker, and you also have a critical thinker.
The harmonizer usually tries to get everyone's opinion and not make a wave and blend all of these opinions together. And that's what they're looking for, to keep harmony. A little bit of your opinion, a little bit of my opinion, we mix them together so we can have peace. That's the harmonizer.
That's correct. The idealistic person always says, don't you think we should go to the movies tonight?
They want the ideal situation. They think that if they do good, good will come back to them. They base things on integrity. They're idealistic. So that is how they think. And that's very important for you to know that if you want to be able to communicate your prejudices and your dislikes and all that sort of thing. At least you know the program you use to help the person to think about the subject.
A critical person says, oh, that was obvious. It's obvious. I knew that already.
Very critical. They like to take things apart. They're not being argumentative. It's just their way of thinking. They can think only by taking things apart. The harmonizer thinks by putting things together. But these are not bad thinking styles, and you just have to know them. You know how to deal with a person who has a different thinking style than yours.
We've all heard of the realistic person, but they say it is what it is.
Yes, the realistic person uses truth and false. Only if it's good for that situation. So they seem like they are sporadic or erratic, but they only use what is good to get them from point A to point B, what is realistically needed. So they give the same value for a fact and a feeling. Both of them are equal with them. A fact and a feeling have the same value. They just want to realistically get from point A to point B.
Now we're going to talk about the learning types. And you have 3 of those. You have an auditory person, which does what?
Auditory person tends to say, that didn't sound right to me, something sounds funny.
And you have a visual person.
They tend to use words like, I don't see what you're saying, that's not clear to me.
And you have a rhythm and touch person.
A rhythm and touch person is going to say, I don't feel that doesn't grab me, that doesn't move me.
You feel me?
That didn't grab me.
Okay, I can't see what you're talking about. Now we're going to go to the learning styles. And the learning styles we're going to talk about is sequential, random, concrete, and abstract. First, a sequential person. What do we know about this?
A sequential person goes step by step by step, and they never break their sequence. They don't like to break their sequence. You can tell them, can you stop what you're doing and let's do this? They say, no, wait till I finish this and then I'll do that next. They follow sequence. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just their time.
And a random person pretty much will start doing something and then they'll start doing something else and...
Yes, they seem to be what they call multitasking.
Right.
They're random.
Right. And we have a concrete person. And a concrete person basically needs to physically see exactly what you're doing to understand, correct?
The concrete person and the abstract person is very easy to understand because that's how they give you directions on how to put together a desk or a table. One will be the picture, that's for the concrete person. And the other will be the verbal direction written out, that's the abstract person.
Let me give you an example, Dr. Africa. I want you to tell me how to get somewhere.
I think I will tell you the landmarks. I will tell you what you can concretely see. Look for this building there. Look for that tall building there. I will tell you what you can concretely see.
No, I think I need some directions.
That would be an abstract person. They don't need to know any landmarks. All they need is you go 2 blocks, turn left at the corner there, go north. That's the kind of thing the abstract person needs.
I think that sounds like me. Next, we're going to talk about the emotional development.
Emotions really start before you're born, and we have to understand that we're a complete package at birth, and all we're doing is accentuating what we learned before we were born. And we we're going to go over this emotional vocabulary that we need to have in order to facilitate a relationship. The emotional vocabulary really starts prenatally, as I mentioned. You already have, before you're born, you already have all of the components of your emotions. You have anger, you have frustration, you cry, you laugh. You do all of this in your mother's womb. You suck your thumb, you play. So you are born already with a complete package of emotions, resentment, frustration. You have all of those. And the thing that we're trying to help you to understand is how to use them holistically, how to use them in a balanced state, how to use them in reciprocity, how to use them in harmony. We're trying to get you to understand that kind of thing. So we're going to look back at your prenatal growth and development to show you how these emotions play into how you treat yourself and how you treat others. The first kind of thing that we need to talk about is the bonding.
Correct. So we're going to talk about first trimester stress. And in your first trimester, ladies' first trimester, that's where you get your bonding and your reattachment. Well, what's bonding? Bonding is basically the person who's a clinger, okay? Or they're an avoider. And they have problems with the fear of losing a mate or happiness. Next is reattachment. And reattachment is a person who will actually pursue or another person who might just isolate. Together, they have a problem with separation. And that separation is like with anger.
The thing with the bonding and reattachment, it sounds like a complicated concept, but usually you teach reattachment by playing peekaboo. I'm attached to you, then I hide from you. I attach to you, then I hide from you. And that's called reattachment. It helps the child to understand that when a person goes away, they're not gone forever. They're going to come back and reattach. So that reassures you, and you get reassurance of who you are and where you are emotionally by reattachment. And when that doesn't happen, you get a negative result and get a negative behavior coming out of the person.
So in the second trimester, you get your identity and your competence. Now, identity is exactly what it says. It talks about the harmony of yourself and someone else in relationships, and the harmony outside of relationships.
That tends to spill into another thing that people call control freaks. A person can only identify with someone who acts like themselves, so they tend to try to control behavior, not because they are power hungry, but because they can only love someone that acts like them. So that indicates some kind of stress in that trimester where there wasn't enough harmony between the mother and father's bonding process for the child to have a holistic balance of this emotion.
And also, we're talking about competence. So is that when they're competitors and manipulators?
Confidence is your mother reassuring you, you're okay, you're a good person, you'll be all right. They're reassuring you to be confident with your personality. When that doesn't happen from the mother and father, it impedes your ability to develop a holistic way of approaching confidence.
And in the third trimester, you basically get your concern and intimacy. Now, concern is caretakers and what you would call a loner.
They tend to either rush toward concerning someone or isolate themselves from concern because they have problems with concern. So they only feel valuable if they are concerned with someone, because for some reason during the bonding process of their mother and father during the pregnancy, that emotion wasn't felt from their mother and father as a one-person unit.
Next is intimacy. And you have the conformist and the rebellious.
Yeah, the conformist tends to be intimate with others, and the rebellious one doesn't want to be intimate with others. Anytime you try to force them to be intimate, they move away, they rebel. And this means that a person has problems with intimacy as an emotion or have a problem being intimate with someone else. The first person you have to be intimate with is yourself. Therefore, they can't be intimate with someone else. So we're looking at the building blocks of the emotional vocabulary you need to facilitate a relationship. You have to have emotional budget, emotional expense account, and all of this helps you to be a balanced, holistic person in a relationship and helps you facilitate your own growth and development through the relationship. Keep in mind, we're just trying to teach you holistically.
relationship?
This is the language that the culture gives you to provide you a way to attach to yourself and attach to others to facilitate harmony, peace, balance, justice, truth, propriety, and of course just and justice. These are just the tools that the culture gives you so you can be a valuable person within that culture. And they have ways in which they can tell you you're not doing that. And we call that rewards and punishments. So all relationships have rewards and punishments. That doesn't mean a beating or an argument or fussing. A punishment is just showing a sign of disapproval. So when someone says to you that something you don't like, you frown. That's a punishment. So they know where you are. So everything has to have rewards and punishments. And never give a reward unless you have a punishment. Otherwise, people feel they're being taken advantage of. They're always doing something kind and don't get anything in return, so they feel taken advantage of. So we always have to have rewards and punishments. And this is given to you before you're born, and we're building on it after you're born. And this is the cultural language that we're talking about. You have to understand that everything has to have some justice. Everything has to have some balance. Everything has to have some reciprocal behavior. That means to give and take. If it's all giving, that is not balance. We want reciprocity. We want harmony. We want balance. And this is the language that the culture gives you to gauge your emotionality.
That sounds good. So if I personally hold truth, righteousness, order, propriety, balance, reciprocity, harmony, and justice, there's things that I wouldn't do based upon my own principles.
You wouldn't want to be in conflict with yourself.
Correct.
To put yourself in conflict internally, emotionally, puts the relationship in conflict. So we have to practice this with ourselves before we can practice this with someone else. And we gauge that by asking ourselves three things whenever we're in a conversation in our relationship. We say, how's what I'm saying valuable or helping the other person? And how is this person listening to what I'm saying helping me? And how is this conversation serving our highest good? I'll repeat that. When you're in a conversation, you say, how's what I'm saying benefiting you, the other person? And how is you listening to what I'm saying benefiting me? And how is this conversation serving our highest good, serving God, serving justice, serving balance, serving harmony, serving reciprocity? This is how you gauge the relationship and stop it from running off the road and going underground.
Well, can you give us an example of that, Dr. Africa?
The relationship. So someone is saying, like, you should have taken out the trash. Why didn't you take out the trash? Understand that you're saying this to help improve the relationship. You don't say things to punish the person or punish the relationship. You say things to improve the relationship. So you're saying this so that it helps to improve the person, so that helps you to serve their highest good. And they serve your highest good. But if you're doing it just as a punishment, it doesn't serve the person's highest good. And it doesn't serve your highest good. So why are you saying it?
So I could actually say, it was really nice that you took out the trash.
That's a reward.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about the social components. And the components of a relationship is almost like the military to me, because you have to protect the relationship.
That's military.
And you have to have social...
Things in common that you do, yes.
Okay. And spiritual balance.
Yes, it doesn't necessarily mean going to the same church. That means you have the right spirit,
Okay.
the right temperament.
Political.
Yes, you have to have some political purpose. And we say everything is political. By political, that doesn't mean voting for someone. That just means you have the same agenda, the same objective. I am on a political agenda here. Yes.
Economic and financial.
Well, you can't have romance without finance.
No, sorry.
You have to
That
have
never
economics
works.
in. And when you have economics involved in a relationship, you got to have play money. A certain amount of money the person can spend without being obligated to tell you. It can be $50, $100, but we call that play money. So you don't have to report everything. It's just that you have economic understanding. You have a certain budget, a certain allowance, certain play money. You can do anything you want with it. Other money is obligated for the mortgage, for the car, for the children. That's not play money.
So are you saying to have a holistic relationship, you need to have all these components?
You have to be military, you have to be political, you have to be social, you have to be spiritual. All of that has to be engaged at all times. That's why you need family meetings. It doesn't have to be children involved. Two people represent the family. You have to have meetings set aside to talk about our components of our relationship. Talk about these things. Talk about our budget. Talk about what we're doing socially. Talk about what we're doing spiritually. Talk about what we're doing politically. This helps the relationship to stay focused.
And these are major components that you really want to have in the beginning of the relationship.
In the beginning of the relationship, the whole tone is set by what you call the marriage vows, which are said weekly or daily or monthly. The marriage vows are not to be said primarily in the church. The vows are to keep the relationship on point. So you say in the morning, I'm going to try to be more affectionate to you. And in the evening, before you go to bed, you say, I was more affectionate to you. And you may say, no, you were not. So these marriage vows, as you call them, are to keep the relationship focused. They're not something to be said in a church. It's something you can say every month. You have a different vow because your relationship's trying to accomplish another goal. So you set the relationship vows based on the goals you're trying to achieve militarily, socially, spiritually, and politically. It keeps the relationship focused.
So this is more than I do.
Yes, it's more than I do, and you do,
And you
we
do.
did.
Okay.
You know, it's keep the
Okay.
relationship focused.
So is it okay to have a counselor?
You should, it doesn't mean a professional person, just someone you could share your relationships, up and downs, and joys. And we call that peer groups with children.
Okay.
So you must have someone that you and your partner can share your ups and downs with. It can be a counselor, it can be a close friend, it can be a preacher, but you must agree on someone that you can go to periodically. Like you have a car, you go every 6 months change or every 3 months and change the oil. Well, you need to do that in a relationship. If the relationship is working good, it can work better. You don't wait for the relationship to crash and then go to a counselor. If it's working good, it can work better. So you agree on someone you can go to get an oil change, emotional oil change, spiritual oil change, economic oil change, political oil change, the same components are back to that.
And ideally, we want to set this up in the beginning of the relationship.
Ideally, you want to have all of these things in place. Don't wait for an accident or wait for someone to get killed at a traffic light to put up a traffic light.